Good morning, beautiful people. It is Friday, July 17th, 2020, one day after the Washington Post article about the Washington football team name TBD's workplace being an incredibly toxic environment. That article was dropped at 5:28 p.m. on a Thursday. The timing of it was one that was being guessed and anticipated by the entire world, especially the sports world, because of the things that were alleged to be in the article. Now, the article was a deep dive into the last 13 years, 14 years of how the building was being run in Dan Snyder's house, the Washington football team name TBDs. Now, it was terrible to read. It was disturbing to read, especially as somebody who I have never been in a workplace that had that happen. Okay, so a lot of the people on the internet responded to the Washington Post article by saying, "That's it," or something like that. But if you read just how alarming and just terrible this lady's life was while working in the NFL, and her alongside 14 other people accused the Washington football team named TBDs to have this type of action on a very regular basis. She said she would cry going home from work. She'd be sobbing at work at her office for the things that were being said to her, and not just her. There was also 14 other women that came out. I mean, absolutely terrible sexual harassment, toxic culture being run over there in Washington. Now, the people that were being accused in the story have all been resigned or forced out of the building, which I think is a good sign if you're the NFL, because the NFL is supposed to stand for everything that is good, like protect the shield. Like, hey, we run at a certain level here. This is an elite group of people. And that building that was being described was not a building that I think, as somebody who played in the NFL, got a chance to really represent the NFL and talk about the NFL on a daily basis. That building is not something that should ever be associated with the NFL. So that obviously has to get fixed stat. And I think Ron Rivera will be a massive piece of that. And when we talked to Ron Rivera, I asked him why the Washington football team named TBDs, because he could have took a job absolutely anywhere. Ron Rivera, highly respected by his peers, highly respected by players. He's won before, he's had success, and he could have taken a job anywhere, especially in a modern time where coaches are getting fired at a rapid rate. I mean, people are moving and grooving because the appearance of complacency by an owner would make their fans potentially pissed off if you don't move and make a move. So Ron Rivera could have taken a job anywhere. He ends up going to Washington. And I think Dan Snyder should be thanking his lucky charms that Ron Rivera chose to go coach there. Now, I know Dan Snyder's probably pumped to have a great coach there and all of that, but Ron Rivera, I think, is a man who can legitimately change a culture. Like, I think Ron Rivera is a guy who's established enough, who is confident enough, who has the right morals and things inside of him that he can legitimately change a culture from inside out. He made a statement this morning after reading the alarming Washington Post article about the toxic culture that the Washington football team named TBDs had for the last 14 years. And Ron Rivera's response was, "My daughter is going to work here. So this is going to change stat." And if you think about last week, Ron Rivera and Dan Snyder were the ones that were in the conversations for what the next team name was going to be. So I think Ron Rivera is a literal godsend to this Washington football team named TBDs, because what has been going on for the last 14 years just seems like an amateur Bush League operation. And it showed on the field with the way they played. None of that should happen in any office anywhere. None of it should happen in the NFL. And to any woman that is, and I said female last night in a tweet, and I got attacked for saying female, not saying women. And to be honest, that's just a mistake. I didn't know that was going to frustrate people. It did, though. I got a couple of tweets were like, women, not female. So I'm like, yo, what? Bro, I am so sorry. I had ladies first, and then I actually deleted that because I didn't want anybody to think that, because I say my lady, I didn't want anybody to think. So I put females, and I'm like, what is the most, best way? And turns out I was wrong. So, I mean, that's going to happen. But nobody should have to experience that at the workplace, especially at the NFL level. So that article was definitely tough to read, disturbing to read, and you just never want that to happen. Now, I will say this. And the NFL has responded. Obviously, these matters, as reported, are serious, disturbing, and contrary to the NFL's value. Everyone in the NFL has the right to work in an environment free from any and all forms of harassment. By the way, super sophisticated people would say harassment right there. I said harassment. Washington has engaged outside counsel to conduct a thorough investigation into these allegations. The club has pledged that it will give its full cooperation to the investigator, and we expect the club and all employees to do the same. We will meet with the attorneys upon the conclusion of their investigation and take any action based on the findings. Okay, any action based on the findings. We talked about this yesterday because the Washington Post article was going to be a big bad one. Everybody was saying that. So what we thought could potentially happen would be the NFL would push Dan Snyder out of his ownership potentially. Or if there's fines and suspensions, and Roger Goodell and the NFL said that they will investigate and see if any of that has to happen. But the things that were also alleged to be in that article, aside from the incredibly toxic culture, which we got to learn about yesterday, that's just not a cool place. That's not cool. Like, that is not good. Obviously, I hope there's justice for everything that happens. But the things that were being alleged to be in that article that weren't in that article are also eye-opening and a part of the story, I believe. So yesterday, this show's job, is to report what's going on either on the internet or what's happening in the world. Now, that might be a little bit different than most sports shows, but to be honest, we're an internet sports show, so that's what we got to talk about. Whenever there was the text that I got yesterday, the text that I got yesterday, which I assume is coming from the same source that couple other people got the text as well, because the wording that was in a lot of that was in a lot of mine. Now, granted, there was a couple more paragraphs that I got in my text message that were not in the article either. So there was about, probably 75% of the message that I got was not in the article. But whenever those things started coming out about what could possibly be in there, there's drug and alcohol abuse. It's like, all right, is this like a fear and loathing type of thing? Like, what's going on in that building? Then there's like, and also there's sex parties happening. I'm like, sex parties are happening at the Washington football team named TBD's facility? Oh, yeah. Also, they're paying off refs to the tune of $2 million for one ref. I'm like, what? There's refs getting paid off. There's sex parties. There's drug and alcohol abuse. Then there's pimping of cheerleaders happening. It's like, there's pimps, there's drugs, there's sex parties, this is going to be insane. And it wasn't just one or two people talking about this. There was numerous accounts that were saying, hey, this is potentially what's going on. And all those things were not in the article, Just the incredibly terrible sexual harassment claims were in there. But boy, I was wondering if the NFL yesterday was watching the internet and seeing these things that were being talked about, and they probably, I'm going to assume, now I could be wrong, but I assume if all that stuff was happening, I'm not sure Roger Goodell would know about that. You think he was reading the internet yesterday and was like texting Dan Snyder, was like, excuse me, like what? First of all, we will no longer have a toxic culture. We got to fix that. Get a lawyer in there. We're going to start investigating that. But now there's sex parties, there's drug parties, there's pimping going on, and there's paying off of refs you guys are doing over there. And I would like to see the reaction in, I believe it's Park is where the NFL office is, yesterday for that entire thing. But those were not in there. Just the sexual harassment. A lot of people on the internet who were former lawyers or lawyers in this thing and big-time journalists talked about how anytime you write something, especially in a Washington Post, which is much different than the internet, they have to get it sourced and credited and everything like that. So what we read yesterday, I believe, has been sourced and credited numerous different times. So that's terrible to hear. And the other stuff that was alleged to be in there wasn't in there for whatever reason. But boy, I bet you the NFL He's excited that they can hopefully turn around the culture in there, but they don't have to deal with the potential rigging of games, sex party, drug abuse story that everybody on earth thought was coming out. So all the boys are here at Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, at Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Viva Lazito, Evan Foxy, at Boston Connor on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. Ty, what were you about to say?
So like when the dust settles and everything, and we talked about this, because there was no on-field implications and everything, is Daniel Snyder probably just going to get a slap on the wrist?
Yeah, I don't. Dan Snyder was not implicated yesterday either. And now, granted, it was a gross negligence to not know that amount of women in your workplace were uncomfortable with being in your workplace. Like, that is obviously a big time problem, especially if you're the owner and the guy that's around and knows I assume is saying that he didn't know any of this was happening, which, by the way, even worse, that means you have no idea what's happening in your building. That is another shot at you. But I'm not 100% sure being an absolute idiot is going to be enough for them to push him out, because he did pay for it. He still runs a business and all that stuff, but not knowing all that's happening in your building, I don't know if that's enough for the NFL to force him out, because you're talking about a lot of money here, a lot of business, and they're each individual franchises. Businesses, like that is his business that Dan Snyder runs. What he does with the stadium, what he does with the uniform, what he does with appearances, promotions, specials, suites that hit the prices, that's his own business he's running. So for them to force him out for being an idiot and having gross negligence of what's going on in your building, I'm not sure they'd be able to do that. And that is why it was such a massive talking point yesterday during the show, because of everything that was being alleged. It was like, if all that's happening, plus that, obviously, now he's compromising the league as well, which not that didn't compromise the league. That is not a good look for the league, what is going on in Washington. That's why they're going to get that fixed. But if it goes with the rules of the game and the outcomes of games and that, then I think the NFL would be able to do it. But it feels like, and I don't think I'm the only person saying this, I think everybody on the internet saying this as well that knows anything, I'm not sure this will be enough, whether you're a Washington football team name fan that wants this to happen or an outsider looking in that wants this to happen. I don't think there's enough in what happened yesterday to make him sell his team and get out of the NFL.
If you're a veteran on the Redskins, are you kind of looking forward to changing the culture, or are you trying to get the hell out of there as fast as possible?
It's very interesting, because I don't know how many veterans they have that stick around. Like, I don't know how many people stick around too long over there. It feels like that is a place that people go and then they leave. And there's not really, you know what I mean? So if you're a veteran and you have a chance to potentially help Ron Rivera change the culture from the inside out, that's obviously a pretty cool legacy. But if you're a veteran who only has 1 or 2 years left, I assume you'd want to go somewhere that isn't completely rebuilding, not only on the field, but in the building and in the franchise, because you only got a couple years left to have success. So I think it's going to be a lot of the younger guys. You look at Dwayne Haskins, this is an incredible opportunity for Dwayne Haskins here, because Dwayne Haskins, unbeknownst to us, we had no idea that the workplace was as terrible. We could guess that the workplace was, amateur over there. We could guess that was what was going on just by the product on the field and the moves that are made and the things that are said by people when they leave. We could have guessed. But Dwayne Haskins now last year he was giving people problems.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you think about the building and the operation that he had been in and around, I mean, that place is upside down. It's not. So once they're established like a good foundation around the building and in the locker room with Ron Rivera, who seems to be a guy that's really leading the charge here and is the perfect man to do it. This is a big opportunity for Dwayne Haskins to not only be the face of the team over there, but a brand new franchise that's about to get launched, right? Mm-hmm. This is a big, big deal. I'm kind of pumped for Dwayne Haskins, actually.
Chase Young, too.
If this would have happened, and for Chase Young, I'm kind of pumped for him. Now, if this would have happened for the first 3 years of his career and he played bad and he didn't hit a second contract, everybody would call him a bust. But you never think maybe the team he's on in the building he's in is actually not at the level of what NFL should be. And that is why what I read yesterday was so disturbing, because it's like, this is the NFL, man. You got to, not just players, hey, this is, if you're a scout, you got to be elite scout. You got to be elite in everything. And there was a lot of decisions being made by people in that story. They're just not elite decisions. They're more so bum scumbag decisions. Yep. Alleged, by the way. I guess I don't know if any of them have gone to court, but I said that yesterday. I will say, if the things that are being alleged happen, this is going to be a problem. I got a couple Washington football team named TBDs, potential Daniel Snyder burner accounts. That came after me yesterday a couple times for fanning the flame on these allegations. It's like, hey, I'm just reporting what I'm seeing. What do you want? What do you want from me? He's singing with Queen, by the way. Adam Lambert, the guy just sang there. I watched a documentary about Adam Lambert and Queen or whatever. Pretty good little doc. That guy, by the way, would have probably been one of the biggest stars on earth, but now he's lead singer for Queen. They sell out arenas and stadiums, but he'll probably never have his own. It's an interesting life, that guy is.
He's in a bad spot because you try to live up to Freddie Mercury and it's just impossible.
No, but he has.
He's got some pipes.
Yeah, he has. That actually watched the documentary because they tried to find literally 50 different people or something like that to kind of fill it, and nobody could do it. Then this guy shows up. Everybody's like, we got our guy. We got our guy. Adam Lent, we got our guy.
He's not bad.
That's literally what Queen and the Queen's fans said. We got our guy. We got our guy here.
He's not bad, but he's not Freddie.
Did you watch the doc?
No, I don't need to.
Oh, well, the rest of Queen was literally talking about this, but
well, they can say what they want. He's not fucking.
Oh my God!
Back-to-back days.
You rattled him.
2 for 2.
Lambert's got
God,
some pipes,
dude.
Tony. Deal with it, my
Deal with
friends.
it.
Sorry.
Can't have back-to-back days.
Tony.
We do need a swear jar for our Italian
Put
friend
$20 in the jar.
who just can't do it anymore. Unbelievable, Tone.
You know, that was a.
You want to say it again?
No, I don't.
Let's get to a break. Intern Mitt is here. By the way, Mullet Mitt's Western Bulldogs this morning had a big win in the
Huge
AFL.
win, baby. 7-goal win. Let's go.
Now, Bailey Smith actually sent Mitt an autographed Guernsey, I believe is what
Oh,
they call
it's
him.
beautiful. I'm getting it framed.
Why didn't you just wear it today, probably? That should have been...
I forgot it at my house, but it's getting framed currently. It's autographed, dude. Come on.
Bricks for bricks.
He'll sign another one, dude. That guy's only 18. He's going to be around a long time.
Playing
man.
through injuries too.
He's a stud.
Yeah, he's playing through injuries. Let's go.
He's got a good mullet, gets a big win. He's tough. Bailey Smith is a stud over there.
Future.
He is the future of the AFL. They keep running Mason Cox out, by the way, out of town.
Come on.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I'm joking. It was a slick track.
Hey.
He's got a hurt knee.
yeah.
Collingwood should go get him.
Who, Bailey Smith?
Yeah, go get him.
Or how about this? Western, go get Coxie.
I love it.
Not a bad move.
I love it.
Carn the pies, dude. Which I don't know what that means. They say carn instead of like go.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it means.
Card it up.
Carn the pies.
Woo!
We're on a hot streak, by the way. The Magpies.
Look out.
Without steel side bottom.
Wow. Yeah.
Beat
People
the
forget
hell.
about that.
Beat the hell out of the Geelong Cats. You got any instant reactions for that, Tone?
No, Pat, I'm going to take a lap or two.
That boy, smart. 16 minutes after the hour, we're back on the other side. We'll be joined today by Calais Campbell and Spencer Dinwiddie. Yes, big sports show. Calais Campbell guests. Calais
I don't know if it's plural today's.
today is
Today's-
actually ownership.
And that
you're-
time is
you're
actually.
You're talking about one day there, and
Oh,
guests.
shit, that's not me.
It's all right.
Today's guest.
the time.
That doesn't sound right, though.
Yeah, but the S on today is not a plural today, by the way. That is.
Well, I know it's like today's. That's our guest. I don't know.
But it's actually right because probably one will drop out now that we made it. Calais Campbell and Spencer Dinwiddie should be good conversation. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Friday, July 17th. I was told by Del Curry, Scottie Pippen struggles on a golf course, right?
Right.
I was told at that thing that I'm going against Scottie Pippen. The next day, match play, heads up, one-on-one Scottie Pippen. So we decide, like, okay, we could probably have a couple drinks, stay at the casino a little bit longer than we should.
Representing the NFL out of the Shoeless Golf Club of America, Pat McAfee. His opponent, representing the NBA, Scottie Pippen.
You know what I mean? This guy's got 6 rings. Yeah. He's a fucking Hall of Famer. But today he's going to play against me. And then I start seeing Scottie hit some shots that are just like starting to come together. And I'm like, wait a fucking minute. I think I was lied to.
We were lied to yesterday. We were told Scottie Pippen was a terrible golfer. Bro, he's Scottie fucking Pippen.
Going in the back 9, I think I was down 1. Like, we were battling. But I started making putts. And Scottie Pippen went ahead and got real hot. I mean, real fucking hot. I was down 3 with 7 left. And I looked right in the camera. And I go,
So we're down 3 with like 7 holes left. Scottie Pippen's about to get this work.
Scottie Pippen from 190 yards out just fucking dunks it. Fucking boom, bang, and then walks up to the green, gets the ball, cameras on him, and he goes, Pippen ain't easy. Kidding me?
All right, down 4 with 6 left after Scottie Pippen just chips in from fucking 400 yards out.
I was fucking demoralized.
Pippen ain't easy.
By the way, best he's ever performed at golf, because I'm around, better teammate than Jordan.
Yep.
People forget. Oh, yeah, I told Dell, I was like, Dell, what the fuck you lying to me? He was like, well, I saw it yesterday. He was not great. And Greg Anthony told me, and I was like, Dell, he buried me, Del Curry. He buried me. He was like, hey, Pippen ain't easy.
Yes, baby, it's time to celebrate.
Talking about a shotgun of beer after he had beat me. Obviously, I like teach him how to do it.
Yeah, put a hole in there. It might spread a little bit, so.
Yeah, so you're going to go here, and then you're going to open and flip up. Does that make sense? Congrats on winning the NBA a couple of times, blah, 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 blah. And being an incredible golfer.
Thanks, Bob.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Hey. Hey.
Hey.
Damn.
Okay,
That's the
Scotty.
best
Bud Light I ever had.
Hey, there's no Scott King up here.
You right.
Have some respect. Zeke. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. 21 minutes after the hour here, Friday, July 17th. Woo! Ezekiel Elliott is not happy about people talking about his football game. Somebody said that Zeke is no longer Zeke. Somebody said that Ezekiel Elliott is about 60 to 70% of what he used to be. And Zeke said, listen, yeah. 1 year, even when I didn't even go to training camp, I was in Mexico because of a holdout. I still dominated. And then he said there are a lot of great backs in the league, but I don't understand why the media has to talk down on my game just to uplift other backs. We all are talented football players and can ball. Check the stats. Since I entered this league, I've dominated year in, year out. Put some respect on my name. Women lie, men lie. The stats don't. Go do your homework. Almost 1,800 scrimmage yards and 14 TDs with no training camp, and now I'm not the same back? Woo. I do appreciate the standard you guys hold me to, though, LOL, but I promise you no one holds me to a higher standard than myself, Ezekiel Elliott. I like that. I like that everybody's getting upset about how people are talking about him and judging him. I like there's a little bit of fire. There's a lot of people on TV that do not like players reacting to things being said about them because the old adage is don't read your press clippings, don't listen to what other people are saying. Well, that's just not possible in 2020 because unless you are living like an Amish person, you literally are forced to see how people feel about you. And when it's somebody who has clout or a little bit of a following and they're saying things that aren't, you feel, true about you, you could see how players could potentially get a little bit pissed that maybe there are some false stories or false narratives going on about them to maybe a legion of fans behind somebody who has credibility that's saying things. You could see how players are like, well, excuse me. This falls right into the Madden ratings thing. Whenever you're ranked from 0 to 100 and a bunch of different things, and maybe that's the only way millions and millions of people will have any idea if you're a good football player or not because they might not watch football games. They only watch highlights, but they play the hell out of Madden, so they have no idea what you're doing on the plays that aren't just touchdowns. So what do? They look at the Madden rating as if it's this know-all scoring system for players, and when guys get low scores, like Aaron Rodgers got an 89, dudes. So what is that automatically going to make an entire generation of humans that probably don't watch entire games? They might just only watch the Red Zone channel and play video games and see highlights. Oh, Aaron Rodgers must be on a decline. No big deal. He's a little bit older. It's a new quarterbacks league now. He's now second-tier B-rated quarterback. You could see how Aaron Rodgers has not said anything because he's old school, and I'm assuming that this does not bother him. Or maybe it does, actually. I have no idea. But you could see how players who get rated like 77, like Kyler Murray, who last year gave people fits. Literally, they were a problem for people, just like Dwayne Haskins was. Young quarterbacks are going to struggle. It's not normal for a rookie quarterback to come in and dominate. Andrew Luck was able to do it. There's been a couple other quarterbacks that have been able to do it, but it is not a normal thing. So when Kyler sees he's a 77, he's lower than Joe Burrow in a couple of the things, and Joe Burrow hasn't even played in the NFL. You could see how Kyler Murray and all his friends who probably play Madden on a very regular basis, and they probably like to play as the Cardinals, just got to trade out their friend because he stinks at quarterback so bad. So I like the players are getting a little bit upset because I am very much a guy that likes having the old chip on the shoulder so that even if you don't say it publicly after you accomplish everything that they said you couldn't accomplish, deep down inside, you know and they know that they don't know, and that's a good feeling to have. But I'm pumped for guys to start popping off saying, this guy's a bum. Don't listen to what this guy's saying. I like that. I'm a big fan of that.
Well, I like that he's using it as motivation because when the story came out yesterday, I was like, you know what? That one source said that about Zeke, but I talked to my sources, and those sources say that Zeke is still one of the best running backs in the league.
Listen to that, though, Zeke. Hey, make sure you listen to that, though, Zeke, because you can't just only listen to the negative. Because if you only listen to the negative, then you're not living in reality. Let's listen to the positive. Diggs' source said that Zeke still one of the best running backs in the league.
I mean, the guy had almost 1,800 scrimmage yards and 14 touchdowns, and he was playing around the beach all offseason.
What do you want him to do? This guy got paid, still showed up, and last year they weren't giving him the ball that much, to be honest.
No.
Dak Prescott's biggest year by far for a reason. They didn't hand the ball off to Zeke as much, even though everybody wanted to see him get that big-ass spoon out and start housing the ball. Mike McCarthy knows that he's got Zeke, though. And Mike McCarthy knows that play action is the greatest thing on earth for a quarterback. And Zeke can catch the ball. Zeke is still a baller, but I do believe the recency bias, what have you done for me lately? There's been some other running backs. Christian McCaffrey last year came onto the scene. I mean, he went big. Zeke has a chance to go big. And I think if he's going to let this continue to motivate him, good. Whatever motivates you, brother, just go out there and ball because we all love to see it. And we're forced to watch your team on national TV every single week because you've won 3 playoff games in the last 20 years, but Jerry Jones is part of the TV negotiations. So.
It's awesome that we're hearing from these guys and reacting. When you were in the league, did anybody like Peyton Manning or Reggie Wayne, would they hold any flame to this?
No, that was old school. That was the old school. That's why I was very lucky to come in at the era that I came in, right? Like I feel very lucky to be my age, 33 years old. Same year that Jesus did, whatever Jesus did.
Oh, yeah. 33.
Do we have any photos of that guy, teenager years? What does he look like?
Oh, baby Jesus?
No, teenage
No, teenage
Jesus.
Jesus.
Maybe one or two.
teenage Jesus.
Is there a teenage Jesus photos?
Like junior high Jesus.
Was he get a portrait done?
He might have.
A few
Got a
pimples.
portrait as a teenager?
John the Baptist.
He had
painted him.
pimples? No, he did not.
He had a couple pimples, yeah.
No, he did not.
Hey, Jesus, one of us.
they were in
No,
this-
Jesus had one of the best skin doctors back then. Everybody knew that.
They started Dove, didn't he?
Now, maybe because it is heavenly, but he did go plow and through the incredible doctorate ability of the skin doctor that he used as a teenager. So Jesus did not have to have it.
Heavenly exfoliation.
But I'm 33. I don't think I've ever seen a photo of teenage Jesus. I just want. Are you sure? I don't.
They said he could have won states if he'd played football.
I went to Catholic school. There's a reason why.
Why?
From 13 to 29, he went to like India when was a student or whatever, and then he came back at 29 and did like I think some. I think that's when he turned water into wine. I think that's when he turned water into wine. I'm not kidding though.
Smack
From 13 to
this man.
29. That's like the one. I went to 4 years of Catholic school. That is the one thing that I did actually attain is that Jesus' teenage years, I swear,
Swear to him.
Jesus'
Don't you swear
teenage
to him.
years, he was a student in like India or something.
So he went foreign exchange. Jesus went foreign exchange, dude.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah,
For
a couple
16 years he couldn't
I'm
get it.
done.
Hey, he loved going abroad, my man. He loved it.
Hey, he did go to a Catholic school, though. He did go to a Catholic school. I actually went and watched one of his games in high school whenever he was playing.
It was
Oh,
awesome.
yeah?
It was very Catholic school.
How'd he
yeah.
play?
Jesus or Mitt?
He played pretty good. Man, I think he played pretty good, didn't you?
Yeah, you left at halftime because everyone was swarming you.
Yeah, it got a little
So,
uncomfortable, but it was a fun game. It was a fun game. I felt like because, Mitt helped us out every training camp. The guy was a stud out there on the field. He might not know much, but you point him in the direction, he'll go. You know what I mean? And that's what he did training camp. It was next level. So I appreciated you. You got chance to watch you play, and your dad watching you guys play was also awesome. His knees were going, the entire thing. But I feel like I was the right age before we got in that Big Jesus show talk. By the way, you might be right. I'm not sure. There's nobody in the YouTube comment section that could give us that answer.
No,
if I know anything about that YouTube comment section, I don't know if anybody knows anything in there. But I feel like I was at the proper age, the right age, where I got a chance to really see like the old school and then also the modern era in an NFL locker room. And it was very, very different. I mean, that locker room, everything changed, not only physically, but I'm talking about everything changed in there from year 1 to year 8. And it was a very noticeable difference. And I don't want to say like woke is the word, but whenever you know everything that's going on, either with you or rumors about you or anything that's happening, and you just have all that access in the palm of your hand, you automatically are probably going to be a much different person than a person who never had that. And that was kind of the way it was. The older generation just felt like, oh, I don't need to hear that. I don't need to hear that. I don't need to hear that. But now we're in a world where if you don't hear something, you're almost left out. And I don't want to say ridicule, but basically you're called an idiot if you don't know something's going on in the world. So you have to be plugged in because it's all right here. I was very lucky to be a part of that first generation and then the second generation, because when I was back in that first generation, the old school way of things, I was on Twitter when it was happening. So I was seeing everything that was being said about me, but I couldn't talk to my teammates about it because my teammates were like, yeah, don't listen to anything anybody's saying about it. Like, well, you don't get it. I mean, I got 200 tweets coming to me literally every minute right now telling me exactly what they think of me. What am I supposed to do? Oh, you don't need that or anything. It's like, well, literally the entire world that I communicate with is on here. I don't know. And then that was kind of the first rollout was like, don't do social media. Like, get off social media. You don't need it. And then as like the years went on, I think everybody started realizing like, oh yeah, like that would be an insane ask to demand your players not to be on social media, because that's literally the world now. So it really changed over a few years there. And I just like where we've gotten to, where players just go ahead and chirp right back to whatever bum who had all the power back in the day with the big microphone. All the power. They were allowed to say whatever, whenever. It goes around to Mike Tyson's quote, I think he said a year ago, that's recirculating. He said, people have gotten real comfortable disrespecting people on social media because you can't get punched in the face or something like that. It's like it didn't used to be like that. Well, now sports writers and opinions and pundits, they've been doing what they've been doing for a long time, which is giving their opinions on players. But now we're very much in a world where players are like, oh, is that right? Let's pull up your film real quick. Oh, wow, I have everybody here watching. This guy stunk, and I've been working like this. Like that is now possible. And I think it's a good thing, to be honest. I don't think it's a bad thing. It takes a lot of power out of the people that were maybe holding grudges or trying to paint narratives about people back in the day, which was definitely happening.
How much did it change, too, when like the explosion of like the debate shows really started to kick off? Because I feel like all those guys, like if you're on an NFL team, you're probably watching ESPN a lot just to have something on in the background, and then that stuff just recirculating all day.
ESPN was always on in the background for everybody, wasn't it? In the sports world, just always like, I don't want to say static noise, but it was. Any bar you walked into, ESPN's just up there. NFL Network, though, when that started, that was the only thing that was on in a lot of NFL facilities. So when I did the NFL AM show, I used to do, like every Wednesday, I would do a hit or whatever. And I would do it, and I would check my Twitter, and I'd get some reaction, and it was like, okay, that's how I judge everything that I go on. I can tell immediately if people are listening or watching said show that I'm on, because if Twitter erupts whenever I'm on there, right? Somebody who follows me will watch it and tweet and say hello or whatever, or if I made a mistake or said something. So when I was on NFL AM, it got some action, but it wasn't like massive, right? So I was always like, I wonder how many people are actually watching this. And then when I got to the Pro Bowl, everybody that was at the Pro Bowl was like, oh, we see you every Wednesday on NFL AM. We love you or whatever. And I'm like, oh, so like, the people that are watching this, I think, are all the NFL players. Like, I got to remember that whenever I say things on this show. Like, I got to remember that the people that are watching this are probably pretty high-level football people. And I would assume that there have been people that have gotten on the NFL Network or onto ESPN and have said things, and they had no idea that the person was potentially going to hear what they say because they didn't expect the world to be as small as it is right now, and probably burned a few bridges in my ideas. And that is why I'm very thankful that I've never been the, hey, this guy stinks. Well, a couple people have. We all know Alberto Riverone, that guy stinks. He has had to have heard it too, by the way, and I would assume he agrees with what I just said. But I just think those days of just sawing people down and then just like, I'll never run into them. We'll just see you later. Those are long gone. long gone. But yeah, I would assume the debate, because those debate shows are setting you up to say things. You are put in a position. If you're there, you have to say something potentially negative. And that was Zeke was replying or referring to. He's like, you don't have to bury me to put somebody else up. Like we can both be really good. Like you don't have to say that he's, and that's one form of debate, though. People will bury one thing and put up another. But I believe in the, hey, let's go ahead and lift everybody up, except for Alberto Rivon. Let's go ahead and lift everybody up. You know what I mean?
When you wonder whether or not those guys actually feel that way, because it's like if they're both just agreeing on one of those topics, like they might go and it's like, hey, listen, you're going to have to burn Zeke down today.
So I've been in those meetings for Get Up. I've been in those pre-production, and I always wondered, because I always assumed that when players got to TV, people just started telling him what to say, right? I was like, man, this guy isn't even, there's no way you feel that way. You've been through an entire NFL season. You know how the season can go. You know that sometimes you can drop a ball or run around. You know that. So you speaking, that's not you. Like, and every player goes, that's a sellout. That's an old player. That's a sellout. Somebody else is talking for him. And then when I got into those pre-production meetings, not once did I have anybody tell me what I should say, right? So that was I was like, okay, so maybe they're not being told. But they mention a topic, and then they ask people how they feel about it, and then I think they're like, okay, that opinion that he has and that opinion that he has will do well against each other, and I think that's how they do it. Now Skip and Shannon,
right?
They have to debate every single day. Like I would assume there comes a time, if it's I don't want to say a lesser important subject, but I assume if it's something they don't care as passionately about, that they go, he is very strong about this. Is there any way you could potentially, I feel that way. Like I assume there's a little bit of that, but I always thought ex-players were being told what to say. And then I have never been told one time to like, hey, you should say this or you should say that, which is awesome. It's very, very, it's actually the complete opposite. I'll say something and they're like, oh, okay. And then Hembo goes to his computer and he's like, hey, here's 3 like legit stone cold facts and stats that you can use that will even accentuate your argument more. And I'm like, Hembo, my guy. And then Orlovsky's like, well, that's wrong. Blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, is that right? Because in boom, 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 and boom, 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 and boom, boom, boom. And then there was one time where I dropped a stat on Orlovsky, me and Orlovsky. Those Monday mornings, me, Rex Ryan, Orlovsky, and Greenberg. Those are some of my favorite times I've ever done anything.
Greatest gifts ever. Too.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. Elle was a legend in there, right? She held it down in there. And then Greenberg, he was the one who kind of put his head out or his neck out and was like, I want McAfee on the show. Like, so Greeny, I don't know if he thought I was, or if people thought I was potentially going to ruin it, but like in my head, I was like, okay, Greeny's the one that wanted me here. So I don't want to say anything that embarrasses him, but boy, I am going to be wide open in here. And then you listen to Rex in those pre-production meetings. And when he starts telling stories, I'm like, oh, I love Rex. And then Orlovsky knows his role exactly. He knows exactly who he is. Those Monday mornings used to be so much fun. But then when Hembo would arm me with some stats, and then I know Hembo was also arming Orlovsky with some stats, it's like you walk into that studio and it's like, all right, me and my boys are going against you and your boys. Let's see if I can remember them all. Now let's see if I can remember, because I don't like the stats written on a piece of paper in front of you, because I think that is but I mean, as I get older, I'll probably start writing more stuff down in front of me if I had to guess, but now it's just all, let's lock it in there and hope it goes. But I enjoyed those shows, but I could see how if you're a debater every single day, that at some point you're probably being told, like, is there any way you could potentially go opposite of them because of that?
Question for you. So like those, like Get Up Now in the morning, it's just Greeny by himself, obviously because of COVID. No, and then you guys, when you did it, were obviously all around a desk in person. Do you think it'll ever go back to that?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, we've been able to socially distance and kind of get through and maintain. Look at the stretch because the way our studio is built. I don't know, though, because New York and L.A., those big-ass cities, and I remember I was told that you can't grow a media company in Indianapolis. You have to be in New York or L.A., and I know that there's a lot of benefits of being there, right? A lot of the marketing people, advertising people are there. A lot of the guests go through there. So if you want in-person guests, that's a good place to be. I very much understand that. But then whenever this quarantine hit, New York and LA were living in very, very different worlds and rules than we were out here because of how hard they were hit with the virus and we weren't. So I don't know what's going to end up happening in New York and LA just because I haven't been there in a long time, and I'm not there every single day to watch Governor Cuomo, who puts the little gifts and things in there. I don't know what they're doing in LA. I think they just locked down again.
They
so
did.
I am not 100% sure there, but I hope so, because with the tech, like if you really get into an argument, there's going to be some stepping on it. Like if you really get passionate, which is what you're looking for, by the way, I think like they're looking for Dan Orlovsky to be passionate about something and me to potentially like that. I don't know if they're looking for that, but that's good TV if me and Dan get into it. And with the tech, you can't do that because once I talk, it cuts him. Like there's no way to do it. So for those debate shows, they need social distancing to go away, I think, for them to really hit their A product. But right now, I think everybody's doing internet television, and it feels like that's probably what's going to be for a long time. And we've been living in this world for a long time. So when this quarantine happened, we're like, well, only interviews via FaceTime or Zoom or Skype. It's like, that's all we get anyways, because the media company in Indianapolis doesn't get as many people. You know what I mean? 40 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break. I like Ezekiel Elliott popping back there, though.
Yeah, he's great, too.
I like him. I like him doing that. Dak's pissed. Zeke's pissed. Mike McCarthy's dying there.
Big year for the boys.
Could it be the big year for the boys? They got like 10 people just got paid there, except for Dak. Well, Dak got paid too. $31.5 million is a lot of money.
They'll probably go 8-8.
Not if they play the rifle.
Bro, 3 playoff wins in 20 years.
That's absurd.
National television every single week.
Yeah.
And there's always a thought that they're going to be good. Like, I think they're going to be good. We're back on the other side. They won't. They probably won't be. No. But I think they're going to be good.
Yeah.
But they probably won't be. Friday, July 17th. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Some phone calls on the other side. 1-833-622-3331. We'll talk to you then.
This is Remember the Titans. How's it going? My name is Pat McAfee. I do a lot of things. Today I am a professional analyst getting ready for the Thursday night football opener in beautiful Nippert Stadium with the Cincinnati Bearcats here at Higher Ground. This secluded world. Good squad, good place. Excited for this morning practice. I'm obviously unbiased, but I'm pulling hard for Cincinnati to do well on Thursday night.
I like to say, all in clipboard quarterback, man. This is awesome. And we got hopefully a future NFL kicker. Let's see what you got. Come on.
This is great for the brand. This guy's an athlete. 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 Hey, let's go. Let's go. Okay, good news. Good news.
They say kickers are athletes. We'll find out. Let's go.
Pull it up. Heads up. Heads up. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for hospitality. Have a great day. Let's go get it. 1, 2, 3.
I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man. I gotta blow today. I'ma blow today. I ain't hearing what they say. Need a blue face. I've been caring about the race. I've been trying to eat. I need more than just a taste. Now they trying to talk. Oh no, they should know their place. Man, I'm ballin'. This ain't cap, baby. Now I feel like calling. From the O, but I got the music poppin'. All the time, man, it started get obnoxious. Now I gotta drive down, feeling nauseous. Gotta drive top down, then I hop out. I've been feeling hot now.
Made a good point.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm up there after.
Yeah, you got it.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
This has been so cool to see. Whenever we were driving out here into the sticks, my boys and I from Indianapolis, we were told by Coach Fickle it was a 40-minute drive from where we live. Absolute lie, hour and a half out here. But as we were getting out here, we didn't know what we were going to show up to. And this is such a cool scene here. I remember whenever I was in college, we won a lot of games, beat Cincinnati a couple times. It was a great day. But I remember my boys, right? Like I still am in touch with them every single day, every single week. We had this moment where we went from boys to become men. And you guys were a really young team last year, but got to experience a lot of wins. Like now the expectation level are high. And I can't wait to talk you all up on Thursday night against UCLA. UCLA refused to respond to my tweet. So I am a Bearcat fan on that opening night, and I cannot wait to watch you guys dominate. And I think this is such a cool thing. Coach, I can't thank you enough for your hospitality. I got a bunch of swag from you guys, too. This has been a cool day. Enjoy this, though. This doesn't happen a lot. Even when you get into the NFL, it's not like college. It's not like your boys. It's not like this. It's a whole different world that you'll remember forever, and I was honored to be here to watch you today, and I can't wait to watch you guys go win the thing on Thursday night and then throughout the rest of the season. Thank you so much. Cheers, boys. Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds. You
Yeah,
already
they
know
do.
Raycon earbuds start about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market, and that they sound just as amazing as the other top audio brands you know. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are the best ones yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. Raycon's wireless earbuds are so comfortable, perfect for conference calls, video chats, and definitely binging podcasts. Unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet with no dangling wires or stems. You've heard me talk about how the company was co-founded by Ray J and celebrities like Snoop Dogg and Cardi B and Etheridge and Brandy.
We have heard you talk about
and
that.
Swish Smith. And those guys are obsessed with their Raycons.
That's so effing cool.
And girls.
Yeah, both of them.
Females.
Yep.
Women.
Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Pat. That's buyraycon.com/Pat for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Pat.
Let's effing go, Tony.
Tony F-Bomb.
Tony F-Bombs, baby.
Tony FCC.
That baby Tony.
Tony. And the FCC won't let Tone be. So screaming FUC on YouTube TV. Ooh. Let's go to Pepe in Mexico, shall we? Pepe, what's going on? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Pepe.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Pepe.
Hey, good morning.
That was last second
Happy
there.
Friday for you, handsome bunch.
Hey, happy Friday to you, handsome Pepe. What do you want to talk about, brother?
Two things. Since this is becoming also a big soccer show, here we go. I'll give you a big nugget on information and a question. You were surprised about NASCAR having people in the stands. Your Pittsburgh Riverhound team beat 3-down Louis City in a 5,000 people attendance last Sunday. So I'm not sure if you checked. So my question for you today is, would you rather have a Madden rating or being showcased in FIFA and have a FIFA rating?
Great question, Pepe. Great question, Pepe. I've been featured in Madden. Had a 90-something rating at one point. 95 rating at one point. No big deal.
Pretty good.
I've heard a lot of people on TV talking about their Madden ratings, you know. I'll get on TV next to just about anybody, and we can have that conversation if you'd like to. But the FIFA rating, I guess that makes you international superstar. I assume that FIFA is a game that you gamers love, right? I mean, even people that don't like video games like FIFA.
Yes.
And Chad Ochocinco is the best FIFA player there is?
No.
What do you mean?
I mean, he might say that.
I've seen him tweet about it, and I don't think I've ever seen him lose.
I will say he takes anyone's offer. He will fly to your house and play you.
That guy has had
It's
such
insane.
an interesting life, didn't he? I mean, Chad Ochocinco is his book is going to be a very interesting one. He was doing he was dominating Twitter before anybody else was dominating Twitter, and I only know that because I was doing Twitter in Indianapolis, watching what Ochocinco was doing on Twitter and being like, "Damn, this guy's doing it." 100 people taking him out to eat on Twitter before anybody else was doing it. Ochocinco obviously was a football player that a lot of people feared. Belichick loved him. Like, Belichick was a fan of him. Greatest coach of all time, thought he was great at football. Now, it didn't work out up there or whatever. But what he's been able to turn himself into as a brand, and then I guess he's on the I Am Athlete podcast, I believe, which is Reggie Wayne, Brandon Marshall, a couple other guys down there in South Florida. He's on there. And I think he and Reggie get into it a little bit about who the best route runner of all time is. And I'm pumped to hear that conversation because Reggie was, by all accounts, one of the smartest wide receivers of all time and one of the most technically sound wide receivers of all time. And I would assume when somebody just comes on his show and just starts spouting off things. And also Marvin Harrison is also Reggie. I mean, there's a lot of great route runners, but I like that Ochocinco just went right into a middle of wide receivers and was like, yeah, I'm the greatest route runner, not only in this room, but of all time. It's awesome. Ocho is a guy that I hope I get to meet someday.
He looks like he could still play, too.
Yeah.
Kicked a 60-yard field goal. That was my first interaction with him. He kicked a 60-yard field goal a few months ago. I think it came out on Bleacher Report. He kicked it.
Yeah.
But I got the video of when he recorded it. He DM'd it to me when he recorded it, so it was like months beforehand. And it was like a quick conversation. I was like, damn, like actually very, very impressive. Because most people who kick field goals on the internet, no offense to anybody, none of them would make it past the line of scrimmage. Still impressive to be able to get a ball to move in the proper fashion, but most people you see on the internet would not make it past the line of scrimmage, which is a big deal. Ocho bombed one from 60, and it was fun to watch. I was like, yeah, athlete, dude. Do what you got to do. He's kicked one in the game, too. Athlete, bro.
He's supposed to try out for the XFL, right? For kicking?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but then I think he saw the paycheck and the time commitment. Yeah, there's from 60 right there. And that's a bomb, too. Like that, look, yeah, I would be jacked up, too, if I hit that right now. Me, I'd be pumped. If I walked out there and hit that, I'd be pretty. That is not easy to do. I think that can be lost in the whole thing. Ocho was a trailblazer there for a long, long time. Let's go to David in New York. What's going on over there in New York?
Doing well, Pat. Big fan of here. How you and the boys doing?
Not too shabby. How you doing?
Doing all right. Let's talk. Let's talk about the New York Jets for a moment.
Okay.
So, back in 2001, Mo Lewis of the Jets enters Bledsoe with like 5 minutes left in the fourth, and Brady comes in the next 20 years of history. Then up until about 2 weeks ago, Jets fans had hope. Brady leaves. Jets fans are like, okay, got to get through Buffalo, not an easy task, but they're not Brady and Bill. Now the Jets are screwed again. Newton comes to town into the division. Jets have never won a game. The Jets can. Granted, the Jets had a good run with friend of the show, Mark Sanchez.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Now, the Jets just had the worst luck for the past 20-plus years, and will it stop anytime soon?
Great question, and I can see how you could potentially think you have had the worst luck in the last 20 years if you're a Jets fan. Not only did your young stud quarterback get mono, not only have you had to run into the buzzsaw of the Patriots twice a year, there's a lot of unlucky things. Coach. Yeah, there's a lot. Adam Gase was also your GM at one point, as well as the head coach at one point. But you can't discount the fact that when you talk about misfortune in the professional sporting world, it begins and ends with the Detroit Lions.
Thank you.
Right.
It begins and ends with the Detroit Lions. Jason Hansen was their kicker for 29 years and never played in a playoff game.
Best Lions player of all time in my eyes.
So just think about that. So I understand where the Jets can think, woe is me a little bit. You got to remember when Sanchez was there, you guys made AFC Championship game. We had battles there. That was not that long ago. That was my rookie second year. So what's that, 10 years ago? The Lions are probably the misfortune team of most professional sporting worlds.
Yeah, you mentioned the Cowboys only winning 3 playoff games in the last 20 years. One of those games should not have counted because it was against the Detroit Lions, and they did pick up a flag against the Detroit Lions when they were hot. They were ready to close the game, and then the Cowboys came back.
So in the last 20 years, the Detroit Lions are 0-4 in the playoffs. Congrats on getting there 4 times.
Yeah,
the Browns are 0-1. They've only been there 1 time.
So maybe the Browns are the misfortune. You get a guy who's potential defensive MVP last year, and your offense can't move, and he takes a helmet off a guy and hits him with it.
Gets broken off for it, too.
But the Browns, by the way, the Browns' misfortune, I think, is ending soon. I really like Andrew Berry as their GM.
And
he is a smart dude.
What hurts with the Lions is we literally had the greatest running back of all time retired early, greatest wide receiver of all time.
I don't know if he's the greatest wide receiver of all time, but one of them could have been. Could have been if he's potentially
if he kept
in
playing.
a place that has hope. You know, because
it's not easy.
He probably goes harder in the offseason, even more so. Calvin Johnson somehow gets even better. Just give him his money. Maybe you guys will get that karma and curse lifted.
Ooh.
Just pay Calvin Johnson.
Pay the man.
Pay the man.
Pay
Maybe
him.
the daughter will do it.
Yes.
Who knows? Hour 1 is wrapping up in beautiful fashion. At 11:05, we have Calais Campbell, and then we have Spencer Dinwiddie. Not a bad show here on Friday, July 17th. We'll see you on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show. This is a bit of a banger here. We haven't done this in a while, and I feel like it's justified to do so. We're up over 16,000 concurrent viewers. Which is wow. We appreciate you. We have bought none of those either. There are some shows that go live that buy the concurrent viewers.
Really?
And Billy Tubes has found the price for what it would cost and what other people are paying. And that is just, you get exposed at some point. We don't do that. So the fact that 16,251 people are currently watching, hey, we appreciate the hell out of you. We know there's a lot of things on the internet you could be watching. You could be jerking your Yergin right now. You're not doing that. You're watching it. Well, maybe you are. Not
commercial
100%.
break. Could be both.
Yeah, whatever you got going on. There's a lot of things on the internet and on TV you could be doing. So the fact you're watching with us, we appreciate it. And if you're not active in that comment section, go ahead and dive in there because we are diving in there right now for a beautiful segment we like to call YouTube Question.
YouTube questions.
Zito, what do we got today, bub? Did you have a little voice crack there? You've been smoking?
Yeah,
today?
I don't know. I haven't done it in a while. I didn't know how to do it.
You try to get deep in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk with a gut.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
From William. Who was the strongest guy on the Colts team, and how much did that person bench and squat?
Okay, so I'm not 100% sure who the strongest on the Colts team was because I lifted with the specialist, so I wasn't always around. Now, I will say Adam Vinatieri, incredibly strong human. I don't know if he's got that dad strength, that old man strength, but he moves weight in the weight room. I mean, bench press, next level. We did this entire ab run for an entire year, arm run. I mean, Vinny is yoked. So we lifted together, so I didn't get a chance to lift with the entire team. So I'm not 100% sure who the strongest person on the team was. I'm sure there's some guys that would tell you they were. Like, for instance, when LaRon Landry showed up at our team, he had a 15-pack. His arms were bigger than anything. He wanted to be a hybrid safety defensive end. I would assume he was probably the strongest guy in the locker room. But there's also randoms that you never know. There's like offensive linemen who might have a kind of a sloppy body. They look like a bag of pears, but then they'll get in a squat rack and move every single thing. You never know. You really never. What's that?
Cock strong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Farm strong.
Yeah. You never know who those. And I didn't get a chance to really lift with everybody, so I couldn't tell you that. But in college, we had some fucking savages in the weight room. Owen Schmidt used to hang clean, I think, like maybe 14,000 pounds. Obviously, I think it was like 400 pounds, though, he was doing. He would, the thing would bend around his knees so much, and then he would just pop it up there, and then he would squat. They called him the runaway beer truck, and that son of a bitch probably could have flipped one of those if he had to, and drank it, the entire thing, if he had to. So he was just a savage in there. And Darius Raynaud, who was a wide receiver for us, he was a bubble screen god in college. Everybody remembers Pat White, Steve Slayton, Noel Devine, and Noel Devine kind of came a little bit later. Everybody remembers that and Owen Schmidt. But Darius Raynaud was a slot receiver for us, and he would get the ball on a bubble, and he was just like a running back. He would just stick his foot in one time, and these dudes were just gone, and he was vital to our success. But in the weight room, there's only a couple people that I've seen that they step in the squat rack and that thing bends around their back, right? Like just completely bends because it's so heavy. And you got people on both sides lifting it in a football locker room. And then when they go down, that thing bends. And then when they stand up, it like bounces a little bit. Yeah. Darius Raynaud used to get into the squat rack, into everything. And it was like, God damn, what is that guy doing? And it was next level. But he was explosive. We had a bunch of dudes that were super powerful. There was this German dude. His name was Pat Liebig, defensive lineman. He used to just move weight. He would just walk in there, and it was just like a massive. We had a bunch of dudes in college that were savages. But I was in there lifting with everybody so I could like look around. And it was, by the way, it was very motivating. Like to see like, okay, so a body can withstand that fucking much weight. That's a good little case study right there. So I think that is the group of humans that I would say was the most impressive that I'd ever seen. In the NFL, I didn't get to lift with as many people as I'd wish. There's a couple of people that came in that didn't play the like OTAs. And they would always put on a show in the weight room, like some of these people. I'm like, hey, this motherfucker is next level, this guy. And then get on football field, can't play football. So that's a little bit. There's a couple things that happen there. I can't play football either, but I can kick them. And they couldn't do that, so that's a problem. All right, we're back in like 30 seconds for hour 2. Good question there from the YouTube comment section, though. Hey, good fucking question, YouTube comments. We appreciate it.
There you go.
Hey. Good morning, beautiful people. It is Friday, July 17th. Hour 2 kicks off right meow. Yeah! All the boys are here at Nick Moroto, at Tone Diggs, at Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, at Viva Lazito, at Evan Foxy, and on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. We've answered a couple calls today. We've gone international already at Boston Connor.
Great to hear from Pepe. Great guy.
What is on your dry erase board back there?
The watermelon is not actually a melon.
Really? That's interesting.
Yes, really.
Wow. You knew that was coming, huh?
It's a berry.
Oh, I did not know watermelon was a berry. I had no idea.
Strawberry, not a berry.
It's a melon.
See, this is how you know back in the day people had no brains.
Yeah.
No brains.
No brains. You know what
They
I mean?
admit for brains.
Like tomato is a fruit.
Yeah.
It's like Iceland and Greenland.
Yeah, Iceland is
Bingo.
nice.
Well said.
Greenland is ice. Learned that in Mighty Ducks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then there's an
Smart.
entire conspiracy of Finland doesn't even exist.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, just want to let you know. And also Australia, I've heard. There's been different conspiracies
no.
about Australia as well. I mean, so who knows? But we got stooges naming berries that aren't berries and melons that aren't melons. And why do you park in the driveway and drive in the parkway? Hey, great try race board today by you, man.
Hey, thank you.
What's the jersey for it?
Oh, just Jason Williams,
Ooh, white
best
chocolate.
passer in the NBA's history.
Is that white chocolate?
Elbow pass, baby.
Went to high school with Randy Moss.
Yes.
And that highlight tape from high school in Huntington, West Virginia is awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I believe there's a baby white chocolate that is coming up next. His kid, I believe, is I've seen some highlights on the internet. Every once in a while, I'll get stuck in like the professor. I'll see the professor. I'll see hot sauce. I'll see a lot of it. And then one will pop up and they're like, oh, Jay Will's kid is next level as well.
Jackson Williams.
Yeah. And I guess he's good. Still Jay Will, by the way.
Got a guy from AJ Hawks High School as well, Gabe Cups. He is very, very
From
good.
Centerville?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. Good conversation. Let's move to the NFL. We're being joined now by a man who's been in the NFL a long time. 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, a Walter Payton Man of the Year. Woo! He's part of the All-Decade team. Yep. He's an NFLPA Executive Committee. Played on the Cardinals, played on the Jaguars. Now, he just signed a 2-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. Ladies and gentlemen, a man that stands at 8 feet 7 inches, Calais Campbell.
I appreciate that great intro.
How are you, man? It seems like I talked to you a long time. We had a good time, and you're still going, especially at a defensive line position that is not easy. How many more years we got? Maybe 10 more years, Calais. Let's just keep stacking them on there.
I'm taking it one at a time, but I definitely, I still feel young. I still playing at a high level, so I'm gonna go ahead right till the wheels fall off.
As you should. You're a game changer, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but I knew you for being an absolute hellraiser in special teams as well because you're so tall. You are literally, yeah, all right, take it easy. But why did you go with Baltimore? That feels like a team that is on a rocket ship right now, especially with Lamar Jackson, and that AFC North is going to be tough. But why did you end up at Baltimore? Was there any other teams that were interested, obviously?
Well, I mean, there are other teams that were interested, but it really was up to the Jaguars. I mean, I was traded, but I did.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that. You got traded?
Yeah.
Did you really?
I got traded. and it was contingent on me signing a deal, so I had to do an extension.
Okay, got it. Okay, got
It
it.
kind of came together, so I guess I could have sabotaged it and went elsewhere, but I was gonna get traded. There was like 4 or 5 teams that were supposedly interested, but Baltimore was the one that the team that agreed to trade me to, contingent on a deal being signed. And that was the process, because it almost, my agent was really, he was saying we can get more money elsewhere. You sure you want to take less money to go to Baltimore? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm getting old, and when you run those sprints, man, I gotta be able to run those sprints with my mind thinking that it's gonna be worth something. I'm gonna be able to get that jewelry at the end of the year.
Have you ever been traded before, or was that your first time?
First time.
Hey, that's a wild thought. And I always, now granted, as a fan, it's just kind of normal for people to be like, oh, they got traded. But when a team's like, all right, move your family, get the hell out of here, you're going to go somewhere else. That is a pretty interesting experience. Did you know that was coming?
No, I didn't know it was coming. I mean, obviously, I guess, it's always a possibility, and being the older person in the league, I've seen it all, so I'm never surprised. But I was expecting to be in Jacksonville for throughout the remainder of my contract, and maybe even longer. I thought maybe an extension would come before a trade would come. And so I was kind of caught off guard, but it happened to be to one of the best teams in football. So, it was kind of a win-win situation.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to be rather happy about this move coming up. I don't want to you didn't say it. I said it. Let's talk about, have you been a part of these Zoom meetings? Has Baltimore been doing the Zoom off season? And how terrible or how good have those been for people that have never experienced something like that who have been in the NFL before?
Yeah, so essentially this was something completely new, like something I never really experienced before. I guess you really couldn't, but I feel like Baltimore tried to make the best offseason program they could, given the circumstances. And honestly, I believe, talking to other guys around the league, ours is the best one. Nobody did it better than us. I feel like we worked harder than everybody else, and that's a big deal, but I will say that, it's really just, it's meetings, and, it's going over the playbook and, getting traded and having to learn a new playbook on the fly, without being able to get the walkthrough reps, not going through, communicate with the players and how they see things. It's kind of like where, you have to make do, but the offseason program, as far as the workouts and stuff, were great. They had us on Zoom doing workouts, which I did not expect.
Hold on. Hey, you were filming. You set up your iPhone or iPad in your gym, and it was like, all right, everybody, let's do clap and clap. Like that is what's going on in there?
I thought it was going to be like some simple workouts like that, but it was like a lot of band work. They made it a little complicated, and it was pretty hard. But yeah, essentially, they sent us an iPad, sent us a tripod, and we had to log into a Zoom app, and we had to do workouts. It was like 10 people to a group, and it was pretty intense, pretty good workouts.
Yeah, there's some accountability in there, I guess, if everybody's watching you do your thing. Now, when I was in the league, I didn't have to do it because it was punt right, punt left, kick right, kick left. But the day before a game, when checking into the hotel, offensive guys had to fill out like an empty X's and O's thing about what the plays were, and defense had to go through a test and answer the questions for what coverage is, who's going to do what, and what formations on the offense side of the ball. Are they doing that now with these Zoom calls with you guys, or do you have tests and things? Is it like you're at home university right now?
Yep. There's a lot of tests. Pretty much. Really, it was a daily test early on. Then it turned into kind of being a weekly test. But towards the end, we started having a lot more motivational speakers come on. Dr. J came and spoke to us.
What?
It was pretty dope. We had a lot of different cool speakers. Honestly, one of my favorites was Sage Steele, which you wouldn't expect, coming and talking to a football program. She was the only a woman we had speak, but she was probably the dopest, had the most perspective that I think we can, really draw from. And Coach Calipari came and spoke to us for University of Kentucky basketball coach. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Tony Saragusa, Eric Waddle. There's a lot of people that came and spoke to us that were dope. Ryan Howard, which baseball player for the Phillies, super dope.
Yeah, that is the thought of them. And I'm going to give a lot of these, I don't want to say olds, but I will. I'm going to give a lot of these olds credit for trying to get creative in how to keep these Zoom things interesting. Having speakers come in, having tests, probably mixing in a little bit of comedy in there to keep people's attention. This was probably a massive test for a lot of these old coaches that have been around a long time. Like, how can we change this up? Because at the end of the day, coaches are just teachers trying to figure out how they can reach people. And if they can do that in a Zoom call, let's do it. Now let's move though. You are an NFLPA executive committee member. You are a man who's been around the NFL for a long time. You were a part of the first CBA negotiations, I believe, 10 years ago, and then this one again you experienced. Now, we are in a very different world with the rollout of football back into after a worldwide pandemic happens with rules and guidelines and everything like that. A lot of other sports can hub. The NFL cannot hub. This is something, there's too many people and too much movement. Where are we in the conversation between the NFLPA and the NFL on an understanding on how this is going to operate with teams being told to report as early as Monday, the Chiefs and the Texans?
Yeah, so the way it stands right now, we put together a document that says they can't have no more than 20 people in the building. So as far as like when rookies come in, essentially if the NFL wants to do it, they can't have, the rookies come in, but they can't have more than 20 people in the building until we get together a plan that is going to, benefit both sides and make sure that we have safety protocols where, we feel like we're secure and safe where we can go to work and compete. Obviously it's a business and, it generates a lot of revenue and everybody wants to get back and earn their paycheck and play football. But the number one thing is safety. And so I think as far as where we are, as far as how close we are to get a deal done, I mean, we're going back and forth. It's a negotiation. It takes time. Usually it happens right in the nick of time. We're due to start, for the vets, on the 28th. And that date is looking like it's going to be, close. We're pushing it, but it's possible.
Okay. Hey, Clay.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. Close. It's going to be interesting. We're going back and forth. We're working hard. I put a lot of, time and effort into trying to making sure that, we go through this process as quick as possible. But it is a process, and we're making moves. But it's an everyday battle going back and forth between the NFL and the executive committee.
And J.J. Watt put out a series of things that he was like, hey, this is a message, just so we're all on the same page here. We want to play. We want to be as safe as possible. We have not received a single valid infectious disease emergency response plan from any team or league. We don't know if there are preseason games or not. We don't know if there will be daily testing or semi-daily. We don't know how a potential positive COVID test would affect contracts, roster spots. Nothing has been agreed upon regarding what training camp will actually look like and how it will ramp up period of work. Once again, we want to play though. But you could see how this is being handled in a much different fashion than the NFLPA CBA negotiation. That is a direct, hey, these are what our questions are. We still have. So the fan can understand, like, okay, we can see how these are actual questions being asked. And the NFL, I would assume, is adhering to this, listening to this, trying to make as much as happen. It feels like these conversations are going to go much more positively than negotiations have gone in the past between the NFL and PA. Is that your sense of what you've been a part of?
Yeah. Without a doubt, so essentially, getting the CBA signed before all this stuff happened was very crucial to giving us, some leverage in the situation. Because if we were ending our CBA after this season, we would really have no leverage and it would kind of be just have to make do. But given the circumstances, we're in a situation where we actually have like the language in the CBA that protects us in a sense where now we have some leverage and they have to kind of give us, a great workplace environment for us to be successful. And what JJ said is right. Essentially, those are the things that we're trying to address. And, and they're going through and talking about it, essentially, there's three buckets. There's the economics, and then there's the, we call operations or protocols, and then there's the scheduling, essentially, all that stuff nothing's agreed upon and we're trying to figure it out. And there's pretty much daily conversations going on between our staff and the NFLPA and the NFL staff. And then from the ownership and then from our executive committee working every day trying to figure out how to get those numbers and everything to make sense.
Clay, we're not going to lose preseason games, are we?
NFL knows exactly where we stand on that
one. What car are you in? Are you in a van because of how tall you are? What do you got?
I got a Tesla.
Whoa!
God bless me. I live a little bit. I'm one of the more frugal players in the league, but I definitely I like to enjoy myself, and I ride around in style.
Hey, I respect it.
Calais, what was your time in Jacksonville like? Because I think it was earlier this year, a report came out that the NFLPA put out like Jacksonville had like 25% of the
75%, I think.
of the league's grievances.
I think it was up there.
Yeah, it was higher.
I think
than
it
that,
was.
I think.
It was like 55%.
Yeah, what does that mean? Because I didn't even know this was something. Now, granted, at the Colts, I'm not saying everything's perfect at the Colts, but I feel like the Colts was a rather professional place. Like, I got suspended for something. For an alleged incident, but I felt like it was warranted, and then they tried their best. Like, hey, we'll give you I feel like the Colts were very like, hey, let's work together in this thing. Now, granted, people who have more injuries and stuff like grievances that could be of that, I never experienced. What was it down there that everybody hated? Was it like being forced back to play? Was it situations not being right? What was it like down there? Is it as bad as it sounds from the outside playing down there?
Nah, it's not as bad as it sounds from the outside. I mean, there were a couple of situations that made it look real bad.
Got it.
But for the grand scheme of things, essentially, what it came down to it is, the CBA allows you to fine up to a certain point. Most teams usually, like when I was in Arizona, Bruce Arians had like, your first time offense was $250. Second time it'll be like, $1,000. Third time you'll fine you to the max. If it was the same thing. So, and whatever the CBA guidelines are for the max. Well, with Coach Coughlin, it was always the max right off rip. It was the max from jump. But for the most part, I mean, there's only there's a lot of guys that got fined, but most of it was repeat offenders. It was the same guys getting fined, and essentially, some of the stuff, you feel like it could have been borderline. So you file a grievance to make sure that, because if I get fined, I'm always gonna file a grievance and try to make sure that this is, just, and I'm gonna get my money back, or at least a piece of it. I always try to. That's just a normal thing. I never got fined. I don't know if that's obvious, but I did follow the rules. It never got fined, and I think it's one of those things where it's just, Tom Coughlin had that mentality of, the only way to discipline the guys is to take their money, because you can't run extra sprints. You're not going to, have guys, you're not going to hurt the team and cut guys who you need, so you have to find them. And so essentially there's a couple situations, but I feel like Jacksonville was a great place to play. I had a great time there. The team was, you saw 2017, we jailed and we had a monster year. And I think the biggest thing that really hurt us is we lost some of our veteran presence. We lost, Mercedes Lewis, she lost, Puds, and those situations, were monumental, because, you had, that's probably 25 years of experience between those two guys, that just went out the door and got replaced by young guys. And, we already were a real young team. And so, we started experiencing some adversity. We didn't handle it as good as we did in 2017 when we had that experience leaning on it.
Well, the good news is they just kicked out another very experienced person out of the locker room. Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. that's good news for people down in Duval. That seems like that's good news. I don't even know what to ask you right now, because I want to ask you about so many things, like Bruce Arians. You mentioned Bruce Arians there. I got a chance to play for Bruce Arians. You got a chance to play for Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians is just a different coach, I think, than any other coach that I've ever experienced, and I assume a lot of people. You see him down in Tampa Bay right now with Tom Brady. How do you think that ends up with BA? You've seen him in practice. You've seen him behind the scenes. And Tom Brady, not that you've ever played with Tom Brady or know Tom Brady, but how do you feel about Bruce Arians and this potential swan song for that entire coaching staff that's down there right now?
I think it's going to be interesting. I wish they had Hard Knocks. I wish I got
yes.
Or All or Nothing, whatever. I would love to see it, because I'm a Tom Brady fan. I've studied Tom Brady. I like to study greatness, and I think that Bruce Arians is a brilliant football mind, especially with understanding how to attack defenses and just understanding how to get the most out of his players. And with Tom Brady and him together, I feel like, that's with those weapons at receiver and tight end, and even the speed at running back, I think that it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, they're going to put up a lot of points. It's going to be fun to watch. I think, BA was my coach for 5 years, and or I think about 4 years, whatever, it was for a long time. And the offenses were always top notch, always top, finishing in the top 10, top 5. I think we finished number 1 twice. And, and seeing all those weapons he has with Tom Brady there, and then you got also Todd Bowles running the defense. So he draws up, I think he's one of the most underrated defensive coordinators out there. And so I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. Hopefully we'll be seeing them in the Super Bowl if things go for the plan. Obviously, we got to go earn our way there. I don't take Kansas City lightly or any other teams in the division lightly. I mean, it's going to be a really tough year. But I think the Baltimore Ravens have all the pieces in place to be successful, and I love to compete against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
You're a hell of an addition to that Ravens team, who obviously last year was a buzzsaw. And your team is currently favorited in every single game this season. I don't know if you know that. I'll make sure you tell your teammates that we're favorited in every single game. Harbaugh will be pumped to hear that. But you weren't there, obviously, last year for when they ran into the Titans and got stalled out in the playoffs. They lose Marshall Yonda. You guys lose Marshall Yonda, who is perennial stud offensive lineman. Everybody says he's the guy. Offensive linemen say he's the guy. Defensive linemen say he's the guy. He's not in there anymore. They bring in you as a veteran on defense side of the ball. What has the message been? Like, hey, we got to do what we did last year, or is it, hey, we're back at the bottom and not last year means absolutely nothing?
No, it's been pretty much, last year means absolutely nothing. Back at the bottom, 0-0. When we were in our Zoom meetings, actually, one of the coaches asked me to speak on experience and success, and then the next year, not because I literally actually twice I've done it. In 2015 we went to the championship game, with the Cardinals, and then the next year we went 6-7-1 and didn't make 6-8-1 or whatever it was, and didn't make the playoffs. And then
Jacksonville, yeah.
It was 7-8-1. My bad. I'm trying to figure out.
16 games, Clay. Come on. 16 games. We were doing the math for you. You guys had a tie in there.
We went from being in the championship game to missing the playoffs.
Yes, got it.
In 2017, I went to the championship game, and then the next year we went 5-11 and missed the playoffs. And so, essentially, what the coaches asked me to speak on that in meeting rooms, and essentially from my experiences, you don't get to start back over in the championship game. You don't get to start back over, being a 14-2 team. You have to go back and earn your stripes. And you have a target on your back now, and everybody's going to play the best game against you. So the road only got tougher. And so essentially, I do think that the team is got enough guys who are mature enough to go out there and prepare like it's 0-0 and not to try to ride the wave and, develop, a big ego that's going to probably hurt them in the long run. And I think that this team is definitely got the right people in place to experience consistent success.
Well, I'm happy they brought you in there. You're a stud. I'm excited to watch the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is a guy who seems hungry still, right? Like, he just saw what Patrick Mahomes got. He just got an MVP. I mean, the next step, that is a guy who is electric and motivated, it seems like. And if that can...
the bag.
Secure the bag.
I've never been so hyped, seeing Patrick Mahomes reset the market. Now I can't wait to sack a $500 million quarterback. I can't wait, But hopefully Lamar follows his footsteps, and he's we won the Super Bowl this year, and he goes gets that $500 million $500 million bag.
$500 million. People are saying it's a bad deal, by the way. $500 million. Take it and run. Take it and run, ladies and gentlemen. New defensive end for the Baltimore Ravens, stud, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Executive Committee of the NFLPA, Calais Campbell. Thank you. In a Tesla, by the way. Is that a special? Is that an extendo Tesla to fit your big ass in there, or is that just standard Tesla?
Yeah, no, I got all the bells and whistles, man. I got everything they offered.
You need to get a Cybertruck next. Go win a Super Bowl with Baltimore or with the Ravens, and then get yourself a Cybertruck. Ladies and gentlemen, Calais Campbell. Thank you, man. All right, we have to get to a break. Spencer Dinwiddie of the Brooklyn Nets joins us in about 8 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm a big Calais Campbell.
Yeah, he's the man.
Great guy.
He and I used to have a good time together every once in a while. Ooh. That's where we learned about each other. We had a good time. Good guy. Good leader. Good time, too. So it's all, it all mixes in there. That's a guy you want in your locker room. Not good for the AFC North bringing that guy in there.
Uh-oh.
Jacksonville just kicks him out. See you later. See you later. We don't need any more vets.
I was more worried about him coming into Baltimore than I was anything going on with that mistake by the lake up there in Cleveland.
All right, we're back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee. Jeez.
There's a grown man with face paint on. So you're Big Nut.
I am, and you're Little Nut.
Well, I've had a few of those in my life. I'll tell you what, Big Nut. I hope to find you one day on my wedding night. Big Nut!
Little Nut!
You did a great job, too. The lines are straight. No DUI problem there. You're really doing a great job here, sir. Hey, Big Nut, I love everything you're about, bud.
Because we are going to win the game.
He just spit in my mouth while saying that.
The most likely team to make the college football playoff is the team that is in Columbus.
He said khakis are way too close to that team from up north. If you don't put black pants on right now, you're going to get booed out of Columbus. So I went with the black. Makes me look thin. And whenever I say 2 letters, the place goes crazy. OH! Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie George. That offense, though, led by Justin Fields. He has 41 touchdowns accounted for, only 1 turnover. I don't know how he isn't the Heisman favorite right now.
Well, he certainly has a chance to make a stick at that today, certainly next week.
He's supposed to be at Penn State native Lion. And Mike McQuarrie told me I wasn't Penn State material. Okay, Herbie was your quarterback. He was a senior. You were a freshman. What was he like as a teammate?
Oh, he was great, man. Big shoulder pads. Kurt could run for days back in the day.
We have a guy that can break every single bone in my body. Stipe, how you doing, boss man? They're down 6-1. She wants to flex on the gram. He says, lady, we are getting slaughtered by the Pittsburgh Penguins. No.
Do I do it too? I thought I need to do this.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here. A little bit of a update on the news from the Washington Post article yesterday. A statement from the owner of the Washington football team named TBD's, Dan Snyder, says the behavior described in yesterday's Washington Post article has no place in our franchise or society. This story has strengthened my commitment to setting a new culture and standard for our team, a process that began with the hiring of Coach Rivera earlier this year. Beth Wilkinson and her firm are empowered to do a full, unbiased investigation and make any and all requisite recommendations. Upon completion completion of her work, we will institute new policies and procedures and strengthen our human resources infrastructure to not only avoid these issues in the future, but most importantly, create a team culture that is respectful and inclusive of all. A lot of people are wondering when Dan Snyder was going to speak about it. He issues his first statement since all of these allegations came to light in the Washington Post yesterday at 5:28 p.m. I do believe Ron Rivera is the guy. His daughter's going to be working in the building. He's going to lead a winning culture, and I would assume at some point potentially get maybe a percentage of that team if he can turn them around and make them a likable place. Let's pivot back to the NBA. Down in Orlando, there is a bubble, and the NBA players are living down there. They're shotgunning beers, they're fishing, they're golfing, and they're playing a lot of basketball. There's a lot of testing happening. There's a lot of good things happening in the NBA. A man who is not down there because he tested positive for COVID prior, and doctors told him he shouldn't go down there, but he wishes he was down there. From the Brooklyn Nets, legend Spencer Dinwiddie.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
How's it going, Spencer? I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother.
Oh no, it's all good, man. I'm shoot. When you reached out, I was honored.
Well, the honor's all mine. Can't wait to chat with you. Let's talk about your situation and why you're not down there in the bubble, because it did make a little bit of news, I think last week or the week before that. You tested positive for COVID-19. Are you okay? And do you still have COVID-19?
No, I'm good.
Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, it was an up and down process. I had, fever for like 4 days straight, and then, flu-like symptoms for another 2 weeks almost or something like that. So it was weird, and my test would flip positive and negative, but I'm good now. And excuse what looks like sweat. I actually just got out of the shower, so
water. We appreciate that. If you're getting out of workout, also would be respected as well. When the conversation was to go down to the bubble, and all that conversation was happening in negotiation between the NBA and the NBPA, I assume that was right in the middle of you having the coronavirus. Is that proper timing, or did that happen before then?
No. So it was already solidified, and then I went back to New York to practice, and that's where I caught it. So I actually, when I was in San Antonio for most of quarantine, then I flew back to New York, started practicing. I got in 3 practices or something like that, 3-4 practices, and then caught it. And that's when the timeline kind of started, and it coincided obviously with the whole ramp up to play, all those things with them flying to Orlando. And so then you're talking about 2 weeks, 3 weeks really, laying in the bed almost. Missing the flight, would have had to fly down there, probably commercial, quarantine for 10 more days. So now you're looking at 30-something days out of, in the bed not doing nothing, and then trying to play basically the next 3 days after that or something. And so the doctor was just like, it doesn't make that much sense.
Yeah, because also I believe Kyrie's not playing, KD's not playing. I don't want to say that the Brooklyn Nets don't have their best foot forward, but it seems like almost behind the 8 ball at this point to go down there. I wonder if that also played into the decision, like, hey, Kyrie's not going to be playing. You are going to be out 30 days. You getting back into shape is probably going to take long enough anyways for the thing to even be done. Feels like a smart decision, but when it was reported, the initial report was that you were opting to sit out. And then it came out like, no, this was a doctor decision. And now that we hear it laid out, it's like, obviously this was the smartest decision that you could have made.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, exactly. This wasn't me, catching and saying, I'm out. I wanted to be with my team. I wanted to be with the guys. I also can't be selfish and jeopardize the whole NBA bubble. We all know what this means for the league as a whole. Like, just, if I show up and then everybody starts catching it and, you blame me for the whole NBA crash, I don't want any parts of that at all.
It felt like during the negotiation and return to play between the NBA and the NBPA, there was a real spirit of cooperation of wanting to make this happen. And then, obviously, Kyrie, Dwight, in the middle of social injustices, a lot of conversations happen on whether or not it should happen or not. Was there ever a time where a majority of NBA players thought that this bubble was potentially not going to happen?
I would say I think NBA players as a whole were just uncertain until the actual, ink was dry, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think the numbers were probably split down the line for most of the time and fluctuated back and forth because, we have an executive committee that does a great job, but we don't always understand every single piece of everything that's going on. And so that's kind of how it works. You know what I mean? I think Kyrie had a very valid point. and keeping the focus where it needs to be, which is very true. And I think the NBA has a very valid point that they feel like added exposure can be a benefit to the movement. So it depends on how you view it, and what side you sit on with that. But obviously, we're returning to play, and I know at the core of everything, we love the sport. You know what I mean? And we love to play. So I think being pure in that intention, and then also championing the cause that you feel is right.
So have you been talking to your teammates that are down there, and what has been the overall reaction? Because we only see, shots in there. We only see like the terrible first meal, and then people come out like, no, it's actually not that bad. Then we see the big ass bass that the LA Clippers are pulling out of ponds everywhere. Then you see the Pelicans golfing, and then you hear about the snitch line. You only hear like bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Are you talking to people down there, and how is the overall reception to the bubble that is down there?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely talking to my teammates. The overall reception. The consensus for the first night's food was definitely bad. But overall, though, it's actually been really good. They kind of call it like an AAU tournament type of vibe. For everybody's played AAU, bonding with your teammates, bonding with your brothers, being on there, having the activities blocked off, and people being able to be normal people is another thing that I've heard. You got guys not walking around with 5 security guards like they would during summer league in Vegas, right? They're just kind of walking around, the biggest star down to the most regular person in the NBA, just walking around and commingling and making it one big brotherhood. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good for the NBA as a whole. It's like a hey, let's go to camp. Let's go to camp here. We're all going to be sequestered. Are you kind of bummed that you're not down there?
Yeah, a little bit. This is definitely history. I think it's a great bonding experience. I think guys are having fun right now. So, you do have a little bit of FOMO in a sense. But, overall, the greatest honor that I have is being a dad. And so being able to spend a little bit more time with my son is big for me. And that's the way I kind of balance the two in my mind.
How old are you? Or not how old are you? How tall are you, Spencer?
6'5" with no shoes, 6'6" basketball height.
Wow. Because whenever you said the guys are allowed to be normal humans down there, like that's a real thing. Anthony Costanzo was a teammate of mine. He was 6'7". He's just this monster man. Anytime he walks into any room, every human just stares at him, right? Let alone in the NBA where you stare at people and then you know who they are. Their quality of life has to not be that fantastic. Just lock it down. I would assume getting out and being able to just be normal amongst a bunch of giants and celebrity people is probably quite a good thing for a lot of people down there. I don't even think about that.
No, I can imagine. It's got to be great. We get very, very brief moments when that's kind of the life that we live. So typically speaking, like you said, we walk down the street, and even if you're not a great NBA player, but you're 6'9", they go, I think I've seen these before. You get that a lot.
Let's talk about your GoFundMe Bitcoin pick where I'm headed to next. Racket. What came of that? You're on contract, I think, for the next couple of years still. But what you do on the internet, I very much love. Like, I love the way you operate on the internet. No problem. Whenever you thought of that idea and got it moving, what was the reaction from people? And will you do that in a couple years whenever you are a free agent and willing to move somewhere potentially?
First, I'd like to say thank you because you're an inspiration in terms of betting on yourself. And I've done similar type of things, and that's kind of the ethos of the GoFundMe thing too. Part of it was a little bit outrageous, right? Like I set the number really high so we wouldn't get it, and it would end up being a charity donation. But the concept of fan engagement and governance, how cool would it be to involve your fans on decisions that you go through? And it could be as small as, hey, I'm between these 2 colorways of shoes tonight. You guys get to choose. But it could be as big as, I have these 3 offers on the table. Which team do you guys like the most? You know what I mean? So, like I said, with GoFundMe, it was a little bit facetious because I said, y'all can pick any team in the world and I'll go there for just $1 million. Like, no, that'd be cap circumvention. You can't do some of that. But if I have 3 firm offers on the table and, I'm talking to the teams, whatever my decision-making process is, it's my decision-making process. I'm not circumventing the cap. I'm not signing there for less. It's them putting in a regular offer and me being a free agent. And, some people interact with Nike or they interact with Adidas or they interact with their agent or they interact with whoever. And I'm saying, well, the fans are what gives this whole ecosystem the power anyway.
Amen.
Why can't I just say, hey, fans, I have these 3 offers. You know what I mean? You can't choose my money because, the teams do that. But if I'm really at a loss and I'm really split down the middle and I'm like, hey, what should we do? Well, choose which city.
That would be legendary. I mean, that would be absolutely. Imagine that poll to our show, every sports show that we talk about. Like, all right, well, we are currently 23 hours into Spencer Dinwiddie's Twitter poll. He's down to, it seems, a 2-team race at the moment. That would be amazing. I think it's brilliant, by the way, and I think your fans, which are your community, will get your back for the long haul for that, which matters more than anybody else could fathom.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Man, you I think you were going to do the Bitcoin thing too. Are you in the game? Are you in the Bitcoin game?
Yeah, no, I'm into the blockchain space in general. This is probably something we should talk about offline.
Spencer, how happy are you and the organization for next? I know the season's still going on now, but for next season when KD's going to be there and Kyrie's going to be there, and you're going to have a full team and can really see what the Brooklyn Nets can be.
You guys are going to be a problem, dude. A problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I know I've said this once and I say it again. Like, KD is a top 2 scorer of all time. You know what I'm saying? Just depending upon how you look at it. You know, you could say Kareem because of the longevity and the amount of points, but in terms of versatility of scoring, whether it be inside, outside, mid-range, all that stuff, like KD's the best scorer of all time. Having that type of person and that type of talent on your team, and you know, being your best player, and then the second best player is probably the guy with the best handles of all time and has one of the most clutch shots, in NBA history, and famous for Uncle Drew and all that stuff. I mean, there's just a lot of talent. Karras had a 51-point game this year. I mean, we got DJ who's been a perennial, all defensive player in the league. Each year he's played a lot, and also he was the number 1 lob catcher this season. Then we have Jared Allen come off the bench, and he was the number 3 lob catcher this season and one of the best shot blockers. So the talent is there. We have to coalesce, come together, and do some special things so the unit as a whole can be successful. But man, like those guys' talent are off the charts, and it's a pleasure to be able to play with them. Oh, and I forgot, Joe Harris is the best 3-point shooter that's not on Golden State.
They changed the game over there in Golden State. They changed the game completely. Yeah. Then when KD goes over there and he wears shirts that say 3-point layup, I mean, it's like, okay, here's a guy that pulls up from half court and it's like a finger roll for him. It's almost cheating. Nobody thought he was going to pick the Brooklyn Nets. What is it about Brooklyn that has kind of accrued this team now and potentially goes for a run? That is a cool part of New York, obviously, but that team has not been one for a long time that people got hyped about. And when KD picked there and when Kyrie picked there, it was like kind of an interesting move.
Yeah, I mean, when looking at the New York landscape, which people kind of say is where they were leaning, the state of the Knicks is kind of in flux. They've got what they've got going on over there, and haven't necessarily been the most successful. But the Knicks brand is extremely strong, and they deserve credit in their own right there. But in terms of the Nets, we made the playoffs. We have a solid foundation. We have a good, talented core group of guys. I think they saw it as something where they come in and lead that group, it could be special. You know what I'm saying? And instead of coming in and then having to form an entire team, an entire situation, an entire organization around them, they felt like there was a solid foundation. And so them driving that ship would get us, no pun intended, but to a ship.
Oh, I get it, because you're talking about forging the river, and then taking that ship all the way. I got it. You're talking to the guys that are down in the bubble, and I don't want you to have to pick a team that's going to win because you think the Brooklyn Nets are going to win, obviously, because you're a good teammate. But what do you think, who will benefit from this bubble-type atmosphere? Will it be the older players who are better at handling distractions, or will it be the younger guys who might be, used to and closer to the AAU things where they've been away from their families and kind of locked away for? Who do you think it's going to benefit more for?
No, I think the older players. I think the break gave a lot of people time to get healthy. I think the other underrated part about this is there's no travel, and travel is very taxing. It takes a toll. So, for older players, they're not going to have to focus. Well, they're still going to focus on recovery, but they're not going to be as worn down, as beaten up, because they're walking back to their hotel room instead of getting on a plane and flying 4 hours and going here and going there and not getting sleep. So I think it definitely benefits the older players. With that being said, obviously I want the Nets to win.
Yep.
I think Milwaukee's going to continue to be formidable. Obviously, Giannis is dominant. I think the Clippers are going to do their thing. I think, you can never really bet against LeBron. But missing Avery Bradley, missing Rajon Rondo is definitely going to be a pain point for them in terms of guarding opposing dominant guards. So if they get like a Dame Lillard or, somebody like that in the first round, it could be a little dicey. I'm not gonna say that Portland will definitively win, but it could get a little dicey for the Lakers if they face like a dominant guard like that.
Let's talk about Giannis in the East, man. He feels like something that I've never seen before from an athlete. He's gotten better too. Like as it's gone, you see him actually getting better. What has it been like to kind of watch him play and kind of see his dominance kind of take over?
I think everybody has a different play style. Obviously, it's almost like a signature or a fingerprint. His is very much about imposing his will. And so I think once his body kind of caught up to his mentality, that's why you see such, dominance from him, because that's how he's wired. It seems like, if he can dunk on you once, he wants to dunk on you 10 times. Some players it's enough for them to just dunk once, or maybe they're like, I'll dunk on you again. But for Giannis, it's like, I will not stop. I will continue to go. So that's what, in my mind makes him so dominant, because like I said, his body caught up. Now he's, muscular and all that other stuff and fast, and now you see what you see.
He really is. I mean, now listen, I'm just saying that because his name is actually the Greek Freak, and watching his body just become what it was. And we got a chance to watch him play against Vince Carter in down in Atlanta this year. And it was when he got on the court, it was just a different animal. And then when Vince got on the court, by the way, the buzz of the entire arena was lifted. He had a couple fadeaways in some people's face. He obviously retires, but watching Giannis in person, I was like, damn, this human is just a different level.
Spencer, with all these like young marquee recruits now going straight into the G League, do you think if that would have been an option for guys your age, that a lot more guys would have done that instead of going to college?
For sure. I mean, you got to look at it. The reason why a lot of guys didn't follow the Brandon Jennings route, because he really kind of was the pioneer, is because the overseas life is not necessarily conducive to young people. You hear oftentimes that like older vet guys like really enjoy it and they get established and, they get their kids in school, but younger guys, you're just trying to figure out life. So you go from trying to figure out life, you're 18 in America and you're really trying to, grow. Now you're trying to figure out Italy and that culture. And, so they're already on a rocky kind of surface. To go there, it doesn't necessarily enhance your chances of success all the time, unless you're truly special. Whereas I feel like the D League is very much training wheels for the NBA, and you get to stay at home, especially with it being like a select team. That means they're going to have, they're going to coddle these kids in a sense. They're going to get the white glove treatment that normal D League players don't get. Because I was in the D League for a hot second, and it's not always the most fun thing, but when you're experiencing as a quasi NBA player, you get a completely different level of treatment.
And I think if those stars keep going there's going to be TV rights, which is going to be more money, which means the high schoolers are already getting $500,000 allegedly without shoe deals and everything else. So that money's only going to go up. It probably will be a lot more of a I mean, I would do it if I was 6'4", 6'5", just like 5-6 more inches here, and I had handles and I could jump over everybody. I would go straight there and get my money as soon as possible.
Why not?
I think like really where this scales to, it's going to be a real JV system. Like if the NBA is smart, and they are, Adam Silver's a great leader and commissioner, you make it like a JV team. You give every team a 1-to-1. They come and they have the same exact schedule we do. It's just that they play at 2:00. And tickets to go to those games may be, $5, $10,
hey, that's
right
smart.
after school. And then we play at 8:00. And so bang, bang, you get both. And so now it's not hard to scout. You get people wanting to stay. They're going to get the same type of treatment. Maybe they are still 2 to a room and we're 1 to a room. And so there's different perks. And they might only be making, $100,000 versus, some of us making, 5, 10, 20 million, whatever it is. But if you make it like that, people will want to stay and be in the system.
Hey, that's incredibly intelligent there. I hope that happens because I will love that. It's like a team's coming in town, entire system's coming to town to play. You'd want to watch that. Spencer, I am so thankful for this conversation. I hope we have you back.
Appreciate you, man. Anytime. Let me know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brooklyn Nets stud, Spencer Dinwiddie. Thank you, man. We got to get to another break on radio. That was a cool conversation. We're back on the other side to wrap up hour 2 on this beautiful Friday, July 17th. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Get it, let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down, I'm the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's brown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Leave the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Crack a fit, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a nap. You probably wasn't expecting this. What? Expected this?
What's the number one sign of a bad home security system? A home security system that is so complicated you never use it. This is exactly the same type of security system Simply Safe has spent a decade fighting against.
Yeah.
They believe that simpler is safer.
Yeah.
That's exactly why Simply Safe is a home security system right when they I couldn't do it.
What'd you say?
I couldn't do it.
Did you say FIFAs? Did I hear FIFAs?
Feeling safe. I put it
Oh,
together.
FIFAs.
Feeling safe at home has never been more important. I'm going to call the action real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and give a call to action about how great Simply Safe is.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. We use it here. We use it at the pub. We use it everywhere.
Yes, we do.
That's my personal story.
Yeah, it is. My personal story is it's in my house, too, and the office.
Yep.
Hey.
What's your personal story, Ty?
Yeah, it's in my house and the office.
Wow,
Hey.
that's your personal story. How about you, Diggs?
It's in my house and the office.
Yeah, but you grabbed a baseball bat, too, until you looked at your Simply Safe camera and saw it was me, and you said,
Correct.
I'm going to come out in my skibbies with my future brother-in-law right behind me naked.
Yes.
Oh, head to simplysafe.com/bet and get free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's simplysafe.com/bet to make sure they know we sent you.
And a baby Z. What do we have, like a minute left on?
Yeah, you just said it.
All right, I have some terrible breaking news.
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know what is going on over in Columbus, but it might be at the current moment that this super boost that we're doing on FanDuel might be a curse, and I will look in the mirror and I will get better. Tiger Woods is playing his worst round of golf that he's ever played. We moved Tiger making the cut from minus 450 to plus 100 in a super boost, and he's currently sitting outside the cut line somehow.
Oh, no.
Is this our fault?
No.
I think so.
No.
I think it's our fault. I'll look in the mirror. I'll look in the mirror this
We
weekend.
know.
I will look in the mirror this weekend.
It's not our fault.
You just got to activate the glutes.
But there's no way that anybody saw that one coming. He was minus 450 to make the cut. We moved to plus 100. We're heroes. Let's all make money. Now he's not going to make the cut. Damn it! Thanks, everybody that watched and listened this entire week to this show. We'll see you on Monday. This is the Pat McAfee Show. All right. I do feel like this is potentially our fault.
He started hot. I mean,
bro, we got so many people fucking betting on that though.
Yeah.
And I feel very bad. Jorge Masvidal knockout in the first round. Wasn't 100% a lock, but it was cool to boost something to that big of this. Christian Pulisic scoring first goal. Thought that was going to happen. I literally thought that was going to happen. I was playing on Saturday going 1-1. Christian Pulisic going to score. Now, Christian Pulisic, they took out his legs 2 minutes in. The guy could barely run the entire game when he fucking won from the guy. He had one bad game because they were trying to slaughter him early because he's a little bit undersized. But don't worry, he'll get his footing. He'll learn the game, and they're cheap shots, and he'll continue to dominate. But this Tiger Woods one, I thought was a full... I thought this was a full four. Hammered down.
Yeah, because Masvidal was like plus 800, something like that, and Pulisic was plus 300, 400 for first goal. I mean, this was minus 450.
This is unfucking believable. Is what it is.
He knows, though. He knows what's going on right now. He's not going to let the people down.
There's no fans out there. Maybe he doesn't even know. He might think this is a practice round because there's no fans out there. He said he's never played in a competitive round without fans. Even in college, people would follow him around. He might be struggling right now.
Well, Rory's playing like shit. That's probably
bringing him
down.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Brooks is in that group. Hopefully, Brooks is be able to keep his head above water because Rory will bring down everybody.
Rory's actually turned it on a bit. He's -1 though.
Well, fucking wake up, Tiger!
Call Peyton.
Tiger's our guy.
Brooks has also kind of turned it on a bit. He's even. So
Tiger will come then. Tiger will come. Hey, Tiger will turn it on.
Oh yeah.
Tiger what?
Tiger. Just Tiger.
What is he currently right now?
Plus 4, I believe.
What?
Fucking A.
Plus 5 on the day.
What happened?
Right. Couple par threes, couple
All
par fives.
right, right. Stay positive. It's Tiger Woods. Mitt, please do your minutes.
All right, we started off this Feel Good Friday talking about the much anticipated Washington Post article. The workplace environment of the Washington football team was disturbing and terrible. Will this be enough to force Dan Snyder out? We do not know. Dewey Haskins has been giving people problems all last year.
Walters. That was unbelievable.
Horrible lead. Dewey Haskins has been giving people problems all last year. Can him, Chase Young, and Ron Rivera change the culture of the Washington football team? TBD's around. Did I say culture yet?
No, Zito says he has a disparaging video about you, I think.
He lost state last night.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video yet, Pat?
No, I have not.
Shit.
He plays as a football player in high school.
This is the last play of the game.
Oh my God! Look at those stats.
Are you IHS?
Yeah.
7
Hold on,
picks?
go back to the beginning. There. Go
7
Go
picks?
back to the beginning. Yeah, let's talk about his turnovers there. You've gone 20.
We're not talking about we're not talking about the playoff
yeah.
run where I threw
We're talking about the last play of the game
15
here.
touchdowns.
Shut your trap!
We play 20-minute
Yell
quarters.
off the microphone. Jesus Christ. So you
so bad at that.
4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's an unbelievable stat. What do you do?
This
You
was
just
the worst game of my life. This is the worst This is the worst moment of my professional career.
Lights are on, huh?
This is the last play here?
Yeah.
Ready?
The play before this, I was driving. No, this isn't the last play. That is.
Whoa, copyright music.
Yeah, mute that. And
Forced
another pick.
wow.
8 interceptions in the state championship game. What a bum. What
Guy-
a
10
loser.
How many fumbles did you have?
No, my team had 2 fumbles. One of them was should have been a touchdown. So
Yeah.
one of them also got returned for a touchdown.
Oh,
so
that's at least a 14-point swing right there. That's tough in a state championship.
Imagine throwing 8 picks and then blaming the guy who fumbled the ball once.
it was my fault. It was my fault.
Oh, yeah. What a hero. What a hero. All right, that's it. We'll see you at 1 o'clock, McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk. We'll see if Mitt recovers from 10 turnovers in a state championship. Didn't know you could play as a high schooler. And to be honest, in a video game, didn't know you could have 10 fucking turnovers. I thought at some point the computer would give up. But no, not in state championship. You got to earn that. We'll be back in an hour and 2 minutes. We can't thank you enough. Cheers.